Okay guys, so this is the wild watermelon hot sauce. I fermented the mixture for about 4 months. So usually it's recommended you do it about a month or so. You could do it as long as you want really, but I did mine for about 4 months. It had 80 ghost peppers, about 25 reapers, about 25 Moruga scorpion, and then a clove and a half of garlic and onion and a half, white onion and a half. So what you do is you chop all this stuff up. I threw mine in the food processor over here and put a a bowl on top of this. This is a scale, digital scale. Zero it out, get the weight, and then 2% of the weight, the total weight, is salt. Okay, so then you put it in a mason jar or two. You can go to Walmart. Here's the date that I started it, November 13th, 2023. So they sell these lids now that are just let the carbon dioxide out. So you put your mash in there. I've got a couple of those lids, and then you just let your mash ferment. I use paper, cooking paper, baking paper on top to seal it, keep all the juices down below the mixture, the mash line. And basically you just put this on. This lets the CO2 out. Keep an eye on it. Sometimes it can grow yeast. This batch didn't, so that the yeast is it's harmless, but it does have a certain taste. In the years past I have had the yeast problem where what you do is you get your baking paper, peel it off, create a new one, outline it, and put one or two more on top. So, and the way you stop that process, just throw it in the fridge and it'll stop the yeast from growing. This year didn't have any yeast problems, so I had 2 of these quartz mason jars full of mash. And the way I do my hot sauce, you could add butter to this. I'm not going to do that. But so what I did is 2 quarts of watermelon in the blender, just pureed it. Half part vinegar. I use white vinegar, half part water, and then 3 tablespoons of pickling sauce or pickling salt. So mixture, add it in. I did 2 quart mason jars full of that salt, vinegar, water mixture. Okay, add it into the mash along with your watermelon puree. When you boil it, you can see some of the mash is still in there. When you boil it, that stops the fermentation process. So we're going to boil this. Once it's done, I have some xanthan gum, and it'll thicken it up a bit, but it'll keep it from separating. Sometimes you'll see hot sauces that get the mash on the bottom and then the rest is the vinegar, water, salt solution on top. So it separates. So you use a little xanthan gum, like a half a teaspoon, depending on how big your pot is, half a teaspoon or a teaspoon. Start off small. If it's not thick enough for you, you could always add more. But you're gonna let this boil. I'm simmering it on low heat, low medium heat right now. I'm gonna let this boil for about a half an hour. Throw it back in the blender, puree it, and then we'll put it in some mason jars. I've got a big one, like a 3-quart mason jar. But put it back in your mason jar, let it cool and all that stuff, put it in the mason jars, And then I've got a bunch of 8-ounce bottles, so we're ready to give some away to family and friends. I know in the years past they really liked the hot sauce. I made Reaper Red last year, Reed's Reaper Red, and I had some Monster Green. I called it the Hawkamania the Hulk sauce. It was basically, I didn't have any green peppers in there other than jalapenos and serranos, but it had some white scorpions that were pretty good, and I put some brown powder in there too. So that was pretty good. Everyone liked that stuff. It is really hot. I still have some left. But this year I'm doing wild watermelon. So I've already got a batch upstairs in the man cave. It's really good. It hits you pretty hard. It's got the ghost pepper laden, heavy on the ghost pepper, and then 50 reapers and scorpions. So it does have some punch, and I actually threw some habanero, about 12 habanero in there just for the extra sting. So it is hot, but it leaves you with that sweet watermelon taste on the backside. So this is it right here. We'll have some bottles of this stuff coming up in no time. Anyhow, that's the process for making wild watermelon sauce. Hope you guys are doing great. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.